Okay, trying this one more time because we can never get it perfectly first shot. Hey everyone, Alicia Kane here, and so today I'm going to be answering a question that was posted last week on one of our videos, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it was that posted it, but it was a question for, oh, it was actually you, Minya. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But you had posted of how do you balance full-time job, part-time coaching. And this is something that is usually what probably a large percentage of these coaches are that come to our programs, is that no one is 100% devoted to building their coaching business. And so the balance issue is a thing that comes up really frequently. And there isn't really an answer of how do you balance it all, because what this season of life truly is if you're trying to do both, it's going to be very unbalanced. I don't think there is an easy way to say here's how you balance two, because it's just like, imagine working two jobs, adding on 20 hours to a full-time job. You're never going to feel balanced. It's just you don't feel balanced working two jobs. But now, when you're bringing on a coaching business and you have a full-time job, what's really happening is you actually have two full-time jobs. Because growing a business, when you're doing marketing and you're building your website and you're building all of those initial things, it's not really full-time work, part-time work. It's usually full-time of what a lot of those things require and demand to get accomplished. So essentially, when you're starting a business, you're taking on a second full-time job. And building a business, whether in how you're marketing does not make any difference if you're trying to attract 5 clients or you're trying to attract 100. The volume doesn't, it's just like, oh, you have to work harder to get 100 customers versus how hard you have to work to get 10 customers. Marketing efforts are the same regardless. And so if you're just trying to start out, you're actually doing a lot of the same work as a full-time business, but you're reducing the amount of people you're bringing in, reducing the amount of sales. So the volume of client care may be less, but your marketing and your building business efforts are the same. And so the truth of the matter is, and it's not a delightful way to look at this, is that while you are in transition of going from part-time coach to a full-time where you are able to release your paid full-time job and you want to become a full-time where that's your exclusive hustle, you have to just accept that it is going to be a season of your life of not being balanced. You cannot balance those well. You can do both. It's absolutely possible to do both, and a lot of people can do that they choose to do that for an extended period of time. How long that time takes really depends on how long are you willing to be uncomfortable? How long are you willing to do both? Sometimes there are people who put things into place where they just rip the Band-Aid off and they're like, you know what? It's a lot of work for me to do. I'm just going to quit my job and I'm diving in full force. And they do whatever it takes. And that's like putting your feet to the fire. And we talked about that previously, and that has been my story. That is what I did. I didn't have a second income when I started my business. It was my only income source. And so I was very, very committed to that hustle, and I had to make it happen. And so I couldn't balance a second job to fund that business. I had to do one or the other. I couldn't do both. And so if you are in a position that you can take that risk, and I wasn't in that position. I still had, at the time 3 kids. And so I won't say that was a good position. Like, I don't know what the indicators are. They have to be personal indicators that say, when are you personally ready to take that risk? And so, and I didn't have a savings account, so I can't tell you, like, from my experience, I made sure I had 3 months of income in savings, and I actually chose to do it in a really bad financial position. I actually had $40,000 in debt at the time, as well as having 3 children. So I chose to make that decision because I was committed to making it happen no matter what. And when it came down to putting food on the table for my family, I didn't give up. I just looked for ways. I was just constantly beating the pavement to find my clients and refining my services and doing everything better so I could get people in. And once it did come in, um, I was able to just really flourish. But not having a second job, and I was able to focus 60 hours a week on my business. And so that was a huge ability for me to be able to do, so I grew very quickly. Versus if I had a full-time 40-hour job and I was trying to only invest 20 hours a week into my business. So 20 hours of, versus 60 hours, I was able to grow substantially faster than what most people are capable of because I didn't have a second job. So how to balance the two, that was the question. And if you are trying to balance the two, I would come up with what is your long-term plan. Since you can't balance the two, what's your long-term plan, and really come up with how are you going to do this, using your Google Calendar really, really well, eliminating kind of some additional activities in your life and just saying, this is a season. For me, this last year, I had to eliminate all activities for my kids because I wasn't able to take a lot on with being a single mom and having to invest a lot of extra time in rebuilding my business. And so it was just like, okay, those activities had to go, and I had to look at it as just for a season. I was like, I need to get this business off the ground and running, and all my spare time needs to be dedicated to this. So it was a big picture decision that I knew it was only going to be temporary. And so my kids understood that, and so they were like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. And they knew we had the whole plan in place so that there was indicators of like, this is when this is going to change. This is when we're able to get back into activities. So we had certain milestones that we knew what needed to happen next. So my suggestion to you is if you are in a position where you're having to balance the two, I would come up with a plan. What's the plan for when you are going to quit? What are the things that you need to have in place for your finances, for your business, for whatever family logistics? What things need to be in place before you can quit the full-time one and fully focus on the part? I do not recommend doing both as a long-term gig. That shouldn't be your long-term, because one is going to suffer, and it usually is the paying clients, because you're always going to show up to the boss that demands the 40 hours. Because you are responsible for yourself and the hours that you put into your business, it's usually the business that is always the one that's going to suffer. And when you are suffering and your business is suffering, your customers who are paying are also going to be suffering. Nobody flourishes in those circumstances. Marketing is bad, and you show up kind of scattered, and it just isn't a healthy business. And that's what we're here for. Kate and I are here to help you guys build healthy businesses. And healthy businesses don't come from places where you are super stressed, you're super maxed. In your personal life and health coaching that a body can only withstand so much stress. And it finally breaks down. It's the same in a business. And so hopefully that answers your question. If you have any additional questions on this, like my perspective on things, I'd be happy to give a little bit more insight. These are opinions, and I wouldn't don't go around and say don't go to your husband and say, well, Alicia says, they're opinions, and you at the end of the day need to decide what works best for you. And if having the security of a paycheck is really important, then you need to really define what is your side business of coaching and what is that going to look like and how that's going to be like, being really realistic. It's like, okay, how many groups are you going to run? How many clients are you going to take on? And not overcommit yourself so that you can serve those people the very best. So hopefully that helps, Minia, and you can be able to come up with a plan and strategy of how you are going to manage. I don't, like I said, not balance, manage. Manage the two. With part-time business, it's probably 20 hours minimum that you need to maintain a business to just keep it functional. That's a lot of work putting in when you have a whole time. So, I'm always amazed by people who do both, and it's just an impressive hustle when they're very committed to building that coaching. And it's hard trying to do them both. And it's also hard is, building a business even when you don't. Either way, starting businesses are hard, whether you have a safety net or you don't have a safety net. You're going to have to choose which form of discomfort are you willing to be in. Are you willing to be uncomfortable with not having the security of a paycheck? Are you but less time and extra responsibilities? Or would you rather the discomfort of just the uncertainty? And that's just kind of part of being an entrepreneur, and that's usually a really good sign of a strong entrepreneur, is when they are comfortable with uncertainty. I'm not saying that I love uncertainty, because I by no means do. I'm constantly frustrated by the uncertainty of my future, but it's part of what I have dealt with for 12 years now. I've only had one income. My business has been my sole income source for 12 years. So I'm used to it, and I know that in those, they always work out. It always does. It might not always work out the way I want it to, but I always find a way. And that's, a strong entrepreneurial skill, is that I've learned over the years how to figure things out. And hopefully that's helpful. And I'm glad that was helpful. I wasn't sure if it would be, but I'm glad that's helpful. Because it's not usually the answer what people want to hear, where most people are like, now here's the strategy behind balance. And being an entrepreneur, there's literally nothing that I ever feel I'm balanced in. There's nothing. It's just a way of just a form of management. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and Kate and I will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.